If you've always wanted your own real-life Jarvis, an AI that's always on, always listening, and willing to do anything that you throw at it, that time is finally here. And you don't need some workflow or automation, and you don't need some watered-down chatbot. Even though I'm always skeptical, Clawdbot is the real deal. After pushing it for 8 hours straight, I can confirm that you can have an actual personal AI assistant that can speak, that can see, and can actually execute tasks. It can live on your own hardware or the cloud, and you can own it and control it if you know what to look out for. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through and introduce you to my new personal assistant, Claudette. I'm going to walk through how I built her, where she lives, and what you have to look out for, especially from a security perspective. Let's dive in. All right, so I'd love to introduce you to my new personal assistant named Claudette. I know, very practical, very original. And instead of me just yapping about what she can or can't do, let her speak for herself. Hey Claudette, I'd love to introduce you to everyone on YouTube. Could you please introduce yourself, tell me and tell them what you do and why you do it and how you do it. And after less than a minute, we get the following intro. So if we play it right
Hey
here.
everyone, I'm Claudette. I'm Mark's AI assistant, and I actually live on his Mac, not in some cloud somewhere. I run locally, I have access to his file system, I can execute commands, and I basically handle all the stuff that would normally take up his time. So what do? I monitor his YouTube competitors. I check Twitter for important updates from Anthropic and the Claude Code founder. I organize his desktop when it gets messy. I audit security issues when they pop up on Twitter. I maintain my own memory files, so I remember
All right, you got the idea. So I can communicate via voice note, via image, via video as well. I installed that as well. And this is a very malleable framework. And because Clawdbot is open source, whatever comes out of the box is something that you can configure. Now, in terms of where Claudette lives, she lives in this bad boy. Now, I know this is trending all over Twitter, YouTube. I would say you don't need it. It is a pure luxury. You can run this in the cloud if you know exactly how to configure it. In my case, I have multiple reasons why I could justify owning a Mac Mini other than using a chatbot, but in this case, this is where it lives. So if I close out of here, you'll see that Clawdbot is running in a separate environment, meaning that it's isolated from all my real files, my real credentials, and I can really control what goes in and out. And one of the many things I make Claudette do is maintain her notes. So anytime she makes changes, anytime she comes up with something novel, if she does a security audit on its backend, I make it document each and everything. And to do my best to control the blast radius, if and when something goes horribly wrong, I have it all running in Docker. So that is where it lives, and I'll walk you through conceptually how Clawdbot works, how it attaches different skills, and everything that you need to know to start off with the best foot forward. So the whole premise of Clawdbot is it's meant to be your own personal AI assistant that you can own, that you can control, and configure to your heart's content. So out of the box, you can do things like connect it to WhatsApp, Telegram, Slack. In my case, I chose Telegram because I didn't feel like coming up with a new business account to separate my personal WhatsApp, which I really recommend you don't connect it to a personal WhatsApp, and I have its own iCloud account, its own email account. Everything is fully segregated from my actual real life. Now you can spin it up wherever you want, whether that's Discord or iMessage or Signal. You just want to really be careful about the security and finding ways to separate it from your life, because right now we are in the middle of millions of people finding out about this, and then thousands of people going on the cloud, going on the personal, and not protecting what they have, so be careful. There are a series of features and skills that come out of the box, like browser control, multi-agent routing, live canvas, and it can run on Mac, on Windows, on Linux, wherever there's a server, it can run. It can even run on a Raspberry Pi. Now, if the whole AI Jarvis thing rings a bell, well, last year in the N8N craze, people said that they spun up their own AI Jarvises via workflow. And while this was valid and you could set up your own Telegram and create a bot father account and create a bot, it was very manual. So if you wanted it to expand its capabilities, it was only as good as the person building it and manually adding to those capabilities. So now we live in a world where Clawdbot, essentially, you can have a conversation and tell it, can you go learn X? Can you go learn how to accept video as an input? And it can do that. And at the same time, you can teach it skills that it can then cement in what's called its soul file, which I'll talk about shortly. But you can say something like, hey, can you screenshot your current desktop and show me what folders you have? So it will go, understand the command, execute its own terminal, execute the function on the Mac to take a screenshot and then send me the multimedia file that I can see in Telegram. So it first sent me a screenshot of the desktop structure itself, and you can see right here, it's typing like a real person would type. And when it's typing, it's actually executing API requests behind the scenes. So it's not just smoke and mirrors. There are a series of things that it's orchestrating to come back with the next response. Now, hopefully, the next response should be a physical screenshot of its desktop. And there we go. This is a screenshot of its live desktop. I think it's shuffled around some folders while I asked it to, but that's an idea of its permeability and its malleability. Now, in terms of how to set it up, I walked through and I did it on this Mac Mini. Again, for me, makes sense because I also wanted to experiment with local models, and my laptop's an M2 MacBook, meaning it's decent, but I can justify this price given the business I'm in, my agency, and everything else. So obviously be rational. Don't go spend a couple grand. You don't need a Mac Mini. It is a luxury. It is a toy. And end of the day, this is not going to be necessarily life-changing out of the box. It will take some time for this to develop. Now, you can run it on things like AWS, Hostinger, or any VPS, and AWS has a very significant free tier, so you can run this theoretically for free, where there's obviously a drawback is you don't have this personal workspace that you can spin up and audit and do all the things here that honestly to me are more theatrics and give me the ability to tinker more, but you wouldn't not be able to do a lot of the automations that I'm able to do here. One of the reasons that really justified it for me to get the Mac Mini is because I know everything that is on and not on that desktop, I can make sure that if it deletes everything, that blast radius is really mitigated. But again, you can do the same thing, just properly deploying things and making sure you know what you're doing. Now, if you've seen the rest of the hype and you still ask the question, what is the big deal about this stupid chatbot? I'll tell you what isn't necessarily the big deal, but the interesting development here. So one really cool thing about this personal assistant is as soon as it onboards itself, it goes through a series of questions. It basically interviews you on what it should behave like, how it should sound like. And this is what's creating a soul.markdown file. So it programs everything from its genuineness to its personality, to its resourcefulness, its trustworthiness, its respect. It literally asks you, if you want me to disagree with you, do you want me to be direct? Do you want me to be kind of passive, kind of beat around the bush, whatever you want? So when it comes to that, you also have the system prompt behind the scenes that you can also configure. It also has a tools.markdown file that it can use and create to store which tool, which APIs, which MCP servers to invoke whenever necessary. And it even has an identity markdown file that asks you, what do you want it to name itself? What kind of creature should it identify as? What emoji should it basically reply with whenever it's having a back and forth conversation with you? And the one thing that truly is a game changer for me are the skills, where I can physically send it a 2-3 minute voice note. It can use the OpenAI Whisper skill to transcribe that, and then use the 11 Labs skill, as long as I give it the API keys it needs, to go, pick the voice that I told it to choose in the soul.markdown file, send me back a voice note, and I can even tell it, if I send you a voice note, then you send me a voice note. But if I send you text, then you send me text. And one added thing that they've built that's pretty special in Clawdbot is the way that it manages memory. I find that it persists the memories that matter pretty well. It knows without me having to push it too much when to store something in its soul file or its identity file. Now, if you're non-technical and you're looking at all the fun people are having and you want to get involved too, my biggest unlock and tip for you is to use Warp to unlock most of the functionality in Clawdbot, to set up your environments, to troubleshoot, because I personally did this even though I'm technical. The Clawdbot GitHub repo is great, but it is full of bugs. There are vulnerabilities. There are a lot of things to keep track of. So I had Warp running on my physical computer, and I have Warp running in my Mac Mini. So I have it running on my Mac Mini so I can ask it specific questions, configure Clawdbot using natural language, and on my parent computer, I'm managing the relationship between the parent and the child, which in this case, I designed it so that my MacBook can control everything on the Mac Mini remote. So it's like having a universal remote control where I can even inherit and take their files, but that Mac Mini can't take my files. This is what's called SSH or Secure Shell. And once you set it up, you can ask Warp to set up this relationship where you can configure remote sharing, remote files, remote management, and remote login. So you can spin up your normal computer and then spin up the Mac Mini and then manage both from one main interface. When I first set up the Mac Mini, I had to hook it up to a monitor on its own until I could tether that connection and that relationship between my Mac and the Mac Mini. And one expert tip, if you feel daunted, is I took my phone and I physically took a picture of my setup. So it saw my monitor, it saw my Mac, I told it to look at my system settings, so it knew exactly what it was dealing with, and then I fed it the link to the GitHub repo of Clawdbot. So then it onboarded itself, it knew about the features, it knew about my laptop, it knew about this new framework, and the Mac Mini, and it acted as this guide that took me through the dark times over those 4 or 5 hours. Because you can see right now, if I go to the bottom of my toolbar, this is in the screen sharing app that's running on my computer, and I really wanted it. So if I have markdown files here, then I can just copy paste this and paste it on my main desktop, or I can ask Warp on my main desktop to go and take everything that's in that folder. So anyway, you can think of it as one-way access, not two-way access, because if the Mac Mini can control my Mac, then I could be easily compromised, where vice versa, it's harder for things to go wrong. So to make it crystal clear how I set up my environment, I have my Mac and my phone and Telegram, and then I have my Mac Mini, and then I'm using Claude 4.5 Sonnet in Clawdbot. Again, I'll show you how to spin up the Clawdbot interface and dialog. I have it hooked up to MCP servers, so I used Apify because I wanted it to be able to use the MCP server to find an actor or an app that it can use for scraping. So I can say things like, hey, can you go take a look at my last LinkedIn post and tell me why the engagement wasn't as good? And then it can go find the actor autonomously. And then once it figures it out, I can say, cool, commit this to your skills or commit this to your soul and remember how to interact with this next time. Which leads us to skills, where out of the box, you get a series of skills that I'll show you. And then you can also use integrations. So I already showed you the integration with Telegram, but you can use WhatsApp. You can also use the Brave Search API to allow web search, which I think is an essential thing. And it also has a very significant free tier as well. So if we go into our virtual environment here, I can spin up something like Warp. And in natural, plain English, I can say something like, can you walk us through the Clawdbot onboarding? Okay, so instead of you having to learn what the commands are, it will go check it out. It'll find exactly the README, the installation, and then it should be able to invoke it itself. So this is what it looks like behind the scenes. And by the way, this is called a daemon, and daemon actually comes from the word demon, meaning like kind of like always there. So when you spin up Clawbot, you can see right here, fresh daily. This is the interface. It asks you a disclaimer. I understand this is powerful and inherently risky. So I'm not just being the Debbie Downer. They're also telling you this. So if you say yes, then you can go through the onboarding mode. Right now I'm having Warp onboard itself, which is another cool feature. You can say, can you go through onboarding yourself and just bring me in when I'm needed? So it will go through and ask you, what kind of LLM do you want to choose? How would you like to spin up different tools? So once it does that, it'll also ask you, what skills would you like out of the box? And what you can do is click on Take Over right here, and then you can go through the wizard yourself. So I can say, yes, I understand. Then you can go through Quick Start right here, and then you can go through existing values. It'll ask you what kind of environment you'd like. So I can zoom in here so you can see a little bit better. Yeah, so config was written by this, and you can pick any one of these providers. I'm using my Anthropic Claude Max account through the Anthropic portal. So if you go through here, you'll see it's on Claude CLI and API key. So if you select this and you have a Claude account, I recommend one of the maxes, the $100 or the $200, if it makes sense for you financially. If not, you can just use the API key. Just be very careful. This is a very token intensive program. So that's my disclaimer. Once you have that good to go, you can go to the next section. So I'm going to just click on skip for now. And then it asks you where you want to host it if you want. Or in this case, actually no, which providers you want to choose. So in this case, I'm just going to keep it at Anthropic. And then I already picked my default model to be 4.5 Sonnet. You can get away, by the way, with Haiku. It's pretty potent if you're using the Claude models. And then this is where I set up the Telegram. You could choose WhatsApp, Discord, Google Chat, all kinds of things. But again, try to separate your real life from this digital life. And once you have that good to go, we can click on skip for now. And then this is where you get to skills. So if you go to yes, you can pick NPM. And these are all the skills. Some of them might need you to intervene, obviously, and add your API keys. But these are the ones that are uninstalled. There are ones that are already installed, like 11 Labs, like the MCP manager. It's called MC Porter. That one was super important because all I have to do is ask Warp to tap into Clawdbot and take this MCP service, I can give it all the information, and go and build a skill and make it available to, in this case, Claudette. So the TLDR is you have some hardware, you plug it in if you want to enable some form of remote access, might make your life easier, especially if you want to be able to run it in a normal environment on your normal computer on multiple monitors. You then install Clawdbot on this virtual environment, whether it's on the cloud or hardware. Then you can configure it like I just showed you, and then eventually you'll be able to message your bot. Now, one additional thing that you can do with Clawdbot that I've done is make it proactive. So by default, out of the box, it waits to be summoned or waits to be invoked. You can design it so it can proactively do something on a regular cadence. So one of the things that I've done is told it, these are the other 5 or 6 YouTube channels that are in my niche where we have similar types of videos. Can you monitor and see how well their most recent videos are doing? If they have a new video, can you let me know what it's about and what the angle is? If there's an underlying trend that seems to be forming on YouTube, and it can inform me that proactively. And on top of that, as it's building and using files on its own environment, I even told it, go clean your desktop once a day to make sure that your desktop doesn't look like my desktop, which is full of random files, images, etc. So here's the Debbie Downer moment that I hope you actually stick around to listen out for. This is an image of thousands, if not millions, of Clawdbots being spun up on servers around the world. And I can bet you that many of them are not AI experts or security experts or even thinking about security. They are thinking about Jarvis' shiny thing. So before you even deploy Clawdbot, know that because it can do all of this, has a lot of firepower, that it can lead to hackers looking at this and salivating, because without the proper authentication, without running on things like Docker, if you're running on some form of virtual machine, things can get bad pretty quickly. So when you're running on things like an open server, you can have all kinds of ports that are not properly closed. You can have API keys that are not properly stored. You might not have logs that are hidden that might reveal sensitive information. So if you're non-technical and you want to do your best to control this as much as possible, 1, try to bifurcate your life accounts from this life's accounts in case things do go wrong. Number 2 is go through back and forth using Warp to ask it, hey, this seems like all these things that are security vulnerabilities. Can you help me resolve them? One key thing that I added to my Clawdbot is if I go to X and I inevitably see something that is around security. So first one, as a security risk. So I can literally take this tweet and let me just go right here and take this and copy link. I can go to little old Claudette and be like, hey, are we covered on this? And then I can literally paste this as is. It will use the Appify scraper to go and scrape the tweet, take a look at the information, and then go and check its system configuration and then report back whether or not there are any dark spots. Now, can you rely on this 100% as your failsafe? No. But if you are a lazier person and you're non-technical and you don't want to go into Debbie Down mode yet, then if you can do something like this and it can patch its own mistakes, it still won't be foolproof. I can guarantee you that. But it might help you do this in a more playful way where once you're ready, hopefully soon, you can go and figure everything out. So you can see right here, it goes through and says that we're covered across the board for everything mentioned in this tweet. And there are a series of other tweets as well. So this is a little hack that I put together that might make it that much easier to protect yourself. Now I have a whole security checklist that I'll make available along with the entire guide of what I just went through in the second link in the description below. Please read the security updates. I know it's boring, but protect yourself. Things are about to go pretty wrong if more and more of the world keeps adopting things without actually thinking about the consequences. But once you've covered your bases, absolutely tinker, have fun. For me, this is the first time in a long time that I've spent 8 hours not moving and just building and building and just watching what happens. So I understand the appeal, especially the childhood nostalgia of Jarvis and Iron Man. Have fun, enjoy it, build with it, build cool stuff, just be careful. If you found this video helpful, please let me know down in the comments below. Helps the video and it helps the channel, especially most channels are not covering the security piece. And if you want to see even deeper dives into Clawdbot, I'll be doing a masterclass on this on my community called Early AI Doctors. So if you're interested, check out the first link in the description below and I'll see you inside. And I'll see the rest of you in the next one.